Blood dripped from Thea Mitchell's lips as she crawled through the dirt, each movement sending waves of agony through her broken body. The setting sun cast long shadows across the barren Texas landscape, her only witness as she fought to put distance between herself and the man who had promised to love her, but instead had nearly beaten her to death. It was 1873 in Johnson City, Texas, a town that had sprung up along with countless others after the Civil War ended. Thea had arrived 6 months earlier with dreams of a new life, escaping the suffocation of her family home in Boston. At 22, she had been naive enough to believe that love could bloom in the harsh Texas wilderness. She had been wrong, her vision blurred as she dragged herself toward a cluster of scrubby mesquite trees, seeking any shelter from the bitter spring night that was rapidly approaching. The sound of her ragged breathing was unnervingly loud in the stillness of the approaching evening. Her body felt like a shattered vase someone had tried to piece back together without glue. "God help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible even to her own ears. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and Thea let out a broken sob. She would die out here, alone and forgotten. Her parents would never know what happened to their headstrong daughter who had fled proper society for adventure in the Wild West. The darkness was creeping in at the edges of her vision when she heard the rhythmic thud of hooves against packed earth. Friend or foe, she could no longer tell, nor could she muster the strength to hide. She collapsed onto her side, one hand reaching out in either supplication or defense, she wasn't sure which. A horse nickered softly, and then a man's voice cut through her pain-addled consciousness. "Good Lord Almighty." Boots hit the ground with a thud, and then there were gentle hands turning her over. Thea whimpered, unable to form words as she stared up at the face of a stranger. The last thing she saw before consciousness slipped away was a pair of concerned blue eyes beneath the brim of a worn cowboy hat. Adam Abernathy had been riding back to his ranch after delivering a herd of cattle to the stockyards in San Antonio, when he spotted what he initially thought was a bundle of discarded clothing. It was only when he drew closer that he realized it was a woman, so badly beaten that she was nearly unrecognizable as human. "Miss, can you hear me?" Adam carefully brushed matted hair from her face, revealing swollen features and bloodied lips. Her breathing was shallow but present. "I'm going to help you, miss. You're safe now." There was no response. The woman had fallen unconscious, which was probably a mercy given her condition. Adam's jaw tightened as fury rose within him. Only a monster would do this to another human being. Carefully, he gathered the broken woman into his arms, trying not to cause her further pain as he lifted her onto his horse. She was so light, it was like lifting a child. He mounted behind her, cradling her against his chest to keep her from falling. "Easy, Rusty," he murmured to his horse. "We need to get her home, but we've got precious cargo. Nice and steady." The journey to his ranch took nearly 2 hours at the careful pace Adam set. By the time the modest 2-story house came into view, night had fallen completely and a steady rain had begun to fall. The woman remained unconscious throughout the journey, occasionally making small sounds of distress that tore at Adam's heart. "Samuel," Adam called as they approached the house. "Samuel, I need help." The front door flew open, and Adam's ranch hand and friend since childhood rushed out, his weathered face creasing with concern as he saw what Adam carried. "What in tarnation? Found her half dead on the trail. Get the spare room ready and fetch clean water and bandages." Samuel nodded, rushing back into the house to prepare for their unexpected guest, while Adam carefully dismounted, still holding the injured woman. As he carried her into his home, her eyelids fluttered briefly, revealing a glimpse of amber-colored eyes before closing again. "You're safe now," Adam whispered, though he wasn't sure she could hear him. "I promise." The spare bedroom was small but clean, with a sturdy bed and a washstand that Samuel was already filling with steaming water. Adam laid the woman down as gently as possible on the quilt, wincing at the soft moan that escaped her lips. "Dear Lord," Samuel breathed, getting his first good look at her injuries. "Who would do such a thing?" "Someone who deserves to hang," Adam replied grimly. "Can you ride for Doc Williams?" "I'll start cleaning her up." Samuel nodded, already heading for the door. "I'll be back with him quick as I can." Left alone with the injured woman, Adam carefully began to assess her condition. Her face was a landscape of bruises, one eye swollen completely shut, her lips split and crusted with dried blood. As he gently cleaned away the dirt and blood with a dampened cloth, he could see she was young, probably in her early 20s, with what would be striking features once the swelling subsided. Her dress was torn and filthy, and Adam hesitated, uncomfortable with the idea of removing a woman's clothing without her consent. But he needed to check for further injuries, and the sodden fabric would only make her ill if left as it was. "I apologize for the impropriety, miss," he murmured, as though she could hear him. "But I need to make sure you're not bleeding elsewhere." With as much respect for her modesty as he could manage, Adam cut away the ruined dress, leaving her undergarments in place. What he revealed made his stomach turn. Bruises in various stages of healing covered her torso and arms, indicating this wasn't the first time she had been beaten. Some of her ribs appeared to be broken, and her right wrist was swollen and bent at an unnatural angle. Adam covered her with a clean blanket and sat back, a cold fury settling in his chest. This woman had been systematically abused over time, culminating in the savage beating that had nearly killed her. In his 30 years of life, Adam had seen many cruel things, but few as despicable as this. He was still sitting beside her when Doc Williams arrived, soaked from the rain and carrying his medical bag. The physician was in his 60s, with kind eyes and steady hands that had served Johnson City for over 30 years. "Samuel told me what happened," the doctor said, immediately moving to the bedside. "Let me see her." Adam stepped back, watching as Doc Williams conducted a thorough examination, his expression growing grimmer by the minute. 3 broken ribs, broken wrist, possible concussion, internal bruising, he muttered as he worked. "She's lucky you found her when you did, Adam. Much longer out there and she'd have died for certain." "Will she recover?" Adam asked quietly. Doc Williams sighed. "The body can heal from remarkable injuries, but it will take time. The greater question is what state her mind will be in when she wakes. Trauma like this leaves scars you can't see." Together, they set her broken wrist, bandaged her ribs, and treated the cuts and abrasions covering her body. By the time they finished, the storm outside had intensified, rain lashing against the windows as thunder boomed overhead. "I'll stay with her tonight," Adam said. "In case she wakes." Doc Williams nodded, packing away his supplies. "Send for me if her condition changes." "I'll return tomorrow to check on her." After the doctor left, Adam settled into a chair beside the bed. The woman's breathing had steadied somewhat, though occasionally a small whimper escaped her lips, as though even in unconsciousness she couldn't escape her pain. "You're safe here," Adam told her quietly. "No one will hurt you again, I promise you that." The night passed slowly. Adam dozed occasionally but woke at every sound, checking on his patient. Near dawn, her fever spiked, and he spent hours placing cool cloths on her forehead, murmuring reassurances when she thrashed in delirium. It was mid-morning when her eyes finally opened, or at least the eye that wasn't swollen shut. She stared at him with a gaze filled with confusion and fear, trying to scramble backward despite her injuries. "Easy," Adam said softly, keeping his distance. "You're safe. I found you injured on the trail and brought you to my ranch. I'm Adam Abernathy." The woman's throat worked as she tried to speak, but only a dry rasp emerged. Adam carefully offered her a glass of water, helping her take small sips. "Thea," she finally whispered. "Thea Mitchell. Miss Mitchell, you've been badly hurt. Doc Williams has been by to tend to your injuries. You have broken ribs and a broken wrist, among other things." Thea's one open eye darted around the room, taking in her surroundings with obvious apprehension. "Where am I?" "My ranch, about 15 miles outside Johnson City. You've been here 2 nights now." A flash of panic crossed her face. 2 nights? I need to." She tried to sit up but fell back with a gasp of pain. "You're not going anywhere for a while," Adam said firmly. "Whoever did this to you?" "No," she interrupted, her voice stronger despite its hoarseness. "You don't understand. He'll look for me. He always does." Adam's jaw tightened. "Your husband?" Thea gave a bitter laugh that turned into a wince. "Victor isn't my husband, thank God, though he wanted everyone to think so." Her eye clouded with tears. "He'll kill me this time, I know it. He'll have to go through me first, Adam said quietly. And I'm not an easy man to go through. For the first time, Thea really looked at the man who had saved her. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with features that spoke of time spent in the harsh Texas sun. His blue eyes were kind but had a steely determination that made her believe his words. Why would you help me? You don't know me. Adam's expression softened. Because it's the right thing to do, Miss Mitchell. Now rest. You need to heal. Over the next week, Thea drifted in and out of consciousness as her body fought to heal. Adam was a constant presence, changing her bandages, spooning broth into her mouth when she could eat, and reading to her from books when she was lucid enough to listen. His deep voice, reciting passages from the Three Musketeers, became a comforting anchor in her world of pain. It was nearly 2 weeks before she could sit up without assistance, and another week before Doc Williams declared her well enough to move around the room with help. Throughout it all, Adam never pressed her for details about what had happened or who had hurt her. He simply offered steady support and a safety she hadn't known in a long time. One evening, as Adam helped her to the window so she could watch the sunset, Thea decided it was time to tell him her story. I came west from Boston last year, she began quietly, her eyes fixed on the golden horizon. My parents wanted me to marry a banker twice my age. I refused and caused quite the scandal, so I packed my things and left. Adam remained silent, giving her space to continue at her own pace. I had some money saved and romantic notions about the West. I thought I'd find adventure, maybe work as a school teacher. She laughed softly. Foolish dreams. Not foolish, Adam countered. Brave, Thea gave him a sad smile. I met Victor in Fort Worth. He was charming, sophisticated, said he was a businessman with interests in several towns. He offered me protection on my journey further west. Her voice hardened. What he really wanted was someone to control, someone to hurt. Adam's hands tightened on the windowsill, but he kept his expression neutral. The first time was after I spoke to another man at a hotel dining room. Victor said I was disrespecting him. After that, it became a regular occurrence. Any perceived slight would set him off. Why didn't you leave? Adam asked gently. I tried, twice. Thea's voice dropped to a whisper. The second time, he killed the stagecoach driver who tried to help me. Made me watch. She shuddered at the memory. He told me the next person who helped me would die too, and then he'd kill me. Adam's jaw clenched, but his touch remained gentle as he helped her back to the bed. He won't hurt you again, Thea, I swear it. You don't know him, Thea said, her voice trembling. Victor Barrett has connections everywhere. He'll find me. Adam knelt beside the bed so they were at eye level. Then we'll be ready for him. That night, Adam sat on his porch, rifle across his lap as he stared out into the darkness. The woman asleep in his spare room had awakened something protective in him that went beyond basic human decency. In the weeks of caring for her, watching her fight through pain with quiet determination, he had come to admire her strength. And if he was honest with himself, something more than admiration was growing within him. Something he hadn't felt since Sarah died in childbirth 5 years ago, taking their unborn son with her. Samuel stepped onto the porch, offering Adam a cup of coffee. You should get some sleep, boss. I can keep watch. Adam accepted the coffee with a nod of thanks. I've been thinking about what she told us. This Barrett fellow, mean son of a gun by the sound of it, Samuel said, settling into the chair beside Adam. More than mean, evil. Adam took a sip of coffee. I sent a telegram to my brother in Austin. He's with the Rangers now, asked him to make some discreet inquiries about Barrett. Samuel nodded approvingly. Good thinking. The lady's healing up well, but she still jumps at every sound. Fear like that doesn't fade quick. No, it doesn't. Adam stared into his coffee. I was thinking she might stay on, even after she's healed, if she wants to. Samuel's eyebrows rose, but he simply said, might be good for both of you. As spring gave way to summer, Thea's body began to heal. The bruises faded, her ribs knit together, and her wrist, though still weak, regained its mobility. Her spirit was slower to recover. Nightmares plagued her sleep, and certain movements or sounds would trigger moments of paralyzing fear, but there were good days too. Days when she would sit on the porch with Adam, listening to him talk about his cattle, the land he loved, and occasionally, in quiet moments, about the wife he had lost. Thea found herself looking forward to these conversations, to the sound of his voice and the sense of peace she felt in his presence. One morning in July, Adam found her in the kitchen, attempting to cook breakfast despite her still healing wrist. "What are you doing?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. Thea looked up with determination. "I'm tired of being useless. You've done so much for me and I've contributed nothing." "You don't need to." "Yes, I do," she interrupted. "I need to feel useful again, to know that I can take care of myself." Adam studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "All right, but let me help with the heavy lifting, at least until that wrist is stronger." They worked side by side, preparing a simple breakfast of eggs, biscuits, and coffee. It was domestic and ordinary, yet Thea found herself smiling more than she had in months. "I received a letter from my brother yesterday," Adam said as they sat down to eat. "He's been asking around about Barrett." Thea tensed, her appetite suddenly gone. "And?" "You were right about his connections. He has business interests in several towns throughout Texas and a reputation for violence." Adam's expression darkened. "He's also been asking questions in Johnson City, looking for a woman matching your description." The fork slipped from Thea's fingers, clattering against her plate. "He's coming for me." "He doesn't know you're here," Adam reassured her. "And if he does come, he'll find more than he bargained for. This isn't Boston or Fort Worth, Thea. Out here, men like me protect what's ours." The possessive note in his voice made Thea look up sharply. Their eyes met across the table and something unspoken passed between them. "I should leave," she said softly. "I'm putting you in danger just by being here." Adam reached across the table, his calloused hand covering hers. "I'm not afraid of danger, Thea, and I don't want you to leave." The weeks that followed took on a new rhythm. During the day, Thea gradually took on more responsibilities around the ranch house, finding satisfaction in productive work. Her body grew stronger and with it, her confidence. In the evenings, she and Adam would sit on the porch, talking late into the night. She learned about his childhood in Tennessee, his journey west after the war, and the ranch he had built from nearly nothing. He was a good man, honorable and steady, with a quiet strength that made her feel safe for the first time in years. For his part, Adam discovered Thea's quick wit and intelligence, her love of books, and her surprising knowledge of business from her merchant father. She had dreams and opinions, and unlike many men of his acquaintance, Adam valued both. It was on a warm August evening, with cicadas singing in the trees and the last glow of sunset painting the sky, that Adam finally asked the question that had been on his mind. "What will you do when you're fully healed, Thea? Where will you go?" Thea had been dreading this question, knowing it would eventually come. The truth was, she didn't want to go anywhere. In the month she had spent at the Abernathy Ranch, she had found not just safety, but a sense of belonging she had never known before. "I don't know," she admitted. "I had thought to continue west, perhaps to California, but that was before." She trailed off, unable to put into words how much her life had changed. Adam was quiet for a long moment, then said simply, "You could stay." Thea looked at him, her heart suddenly racing. "As what, your housekeeper?" "No." Adam turned to face her, his expression earnest in the fading light. "As whatever you want to be, Thea. I know it's too soon and you've been through hell, but I care for you, more than I thought I could care for anyone again after Sarah." Thea felt tears gather in her eyes. The sound of approaching horses interrupted her response. Adam was immediately on his feet, reaching for the rifle that was never far from his side these days. "Get inside," he said quietly. "Could be nothing, but best not to take chances." Thea hurried into the house, her heart pounding as she peered through the curtains. 3 riders approached, their features indistinct in the gathering darkness. Behind her, the door opened and Samuel entered, shotgun in hand. "Who is it?" he asked, moving to the window. "I can't tell," Thea whispered, "but I have a bad feeling." Outside, Adam had stepped off the porch, rifle held casually but ready. "Evening, gentlemen," he called as the riders drew near. "You're a ways off the main trail." The lead rider, a tall man in an expensive suit despite the Texas heat, pulled his horse to a stop. Even in the dim light, Thea recognized him instantly and terror gripped her heart. "Victor," she breathed, her legs nearly giving out beneath her. Samuel steadied her with a firm hand. "That him, the one who hurt you?" Thea nodded, unable to speak as memories of pain and fear flooded back. "Evening," Victor Barrett replied to Adam, his voice smooth as silk. "Apologies for the late call. We're looking for someone. A young woman who went missing near Johnson City a few months back. My fiancée." Adam's posture didn't change, but Thea could see the tension in his shoulders. "Haven't seen many travelers through here lately. Just me and my ranch hands." Barrett smiled, a cold expression that didn't reach his eyes. "Funny thing is, I heard tell of a rancher who took in an injured woman around the same time my Thea disappeared." He leaned forward in his saddle. "You wouldn't be hiding my property, would you, cowboy?" "Don't believe I know anything about your property," Adam replied evenly. "But I do know that women aren't property in these parts." Barrett's smile vanished. "I don't think you understand the situation. Thea is mentally unstable, prone to delusions and self-harm. Her family in Boston asked me to bring her home for treatment." "Is that how she got all those bruises? Treating herself?" Adam's voice had hardened. "Or the broken ribs and wrist?" Barrett's eyes narrowed. "So you do have her." "What I have," Adam said slowly, "is a ranch full of men who don't take kindly to women beaters. Now I suggest you and your friends turn around and head back to wherever you came from." Barrett laughed, the sound chilling in the night air. "You really don't know who I am, do you?" He gestured to his companions. "These men work for me, but they're just two of many. I own half the businesses in Johnson City, including the bank that holds loans for most of the ranches in this area." His voice turned threatening. "Including yours, I'd wager." Inside the house, Thea felt a surge of anger cut through her fear. Adam had risked everything to save her, to protect her, and now Barrett would ruin him for it. "I need to go out there," she said suddenly. Samuel looked at her in alarm. "Miss Thea, that's not, if I don't, he'll destroy Adam. He'll destroy everything." Thea straightened her shoulders. "I can't let that happen." Before Samuel could stop her, Thea pushed open the door and stepped onto the porch. The cool night air hit her face as all eyes turned toward her. "Hello, Victor," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Barrett's face lit with triumph. "Thea, my dear, I've been so worried." He dismounted, taking a step toward the house. Adam moved quickly to block his path, rifle still at the ready. "That's far enough." Thea descended the porch steps, placing a gentle hand on Adam's arm. "It's all right." "It's not all right," Adam said quietly, his eyes never leaving Barrett. "He nearly killed you. And he'll kill you if I don't go with him," Thea replied, her voice low. "I won't have your blood on my hands." Barrett watched the exchange with growing impatience. "Enough of this melodrama, Thea. Get your things, we're leaving." Adam's arm tensed beneath Thea's hand. "She's not going anywhere with you." "I don't believe that's your decision to make, rancher." Barrett's hand moved to his coat, where Thea knew he kept a small pistol. What happened next occurred so quickly that later, Thea would struggle to recall the exact sequence of events. As Barrett reached for his weapon, Samuel fired a warning shot from the porch. One of Barrett's men drew his pistol, aiming at Samuel. Adam shoved Thea behind him and raised his rifle. And then the night exploded with gunfire. When the smoke cleared, one of Barrett's men lay on the ground, clutching his shoulder. The other had his hands raised in surrender. And Victor Barrett stood with Adam's rifle pressed against his chest. "You're either very brave or very stupid," Barrett sneered, though Thea could see fear in his eyes for the first time. "Neither," came a new voice from the darkness. "He's just not alone." A group of riders emerged from the tree line, led by a man who bore a striking resemblance to Adam. Each rider wore the distinctive badge of the Texas Rangers. "Andrew," Adam acknowledged without taking his eyes off Barrett, "your timing is impeccable." "Got your telegram," Andrew Abernathy replied, dismounting and approaching the tense standoff. "Thought I'd bring some friends to meet this Barrett fellow you wrote about." He nodded to Victor. "Victor Barrett, you're under arrest for the murder of James Williamson, stagecoach driver out of Fort Worth." Barrett's face drained of color. "You have no proof, we have a witness," Andrew cut him off, glancing at Thea. "And after some digging, we found two more women willing to testify about what you did to them. Seems you have a pattern, Mr. Barrett." As the Rangers took Barrett and his men into custody, Thea felt a strange numbness wash over her. The nightmare that had haunted her for so long was ending, yet she couldn't quite believe it. She stood in the yard, watching as they were led away, until Adam's gentle touch on her arm brought her back to the present. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. Thea looked up at him, at the concern etched across his features, and suddenly the numbness gave way to overwhelming emotion. Without a word, she stepped into his embrace, burying her face against his chest as tears came at last, tears of relief, of grief for the woman she had been, and of hope for who she might become. Adam held her, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other wrapped protectively around her waist. "He can't hurt you anymore," he murmured against her hair. "It's over." Later that night, after the Rangers had gone, taking Barrett and his men to await trial in Austin, Thea and Adam sat once more on the porch. The night was quiet now, peaceful in a way Thea had forgotten could exist. "You never answered my question," Adam said after a comfortable silence. "About staying." Thea looked up at the stars, bright in the clear Texas sky. "I'm afraid," she admitted, "not of him anymore, but of feeling too much, of being vulnerable again." Adam took her hand gently in his. "Fear's natural after what you've been through. I'm not asking for promises, Thea, just a chance for both of us." Thea turned to look at him, this man who had saved her life in more ways than one. "I think," she said slowly, "that I'd like that chance very much." The months that followed were a time of healing and discovery. Thea testified at Barrett's trial, facing down her tormentor one final time as he was sentenced to hang for his crimes. The nightmares gradually faded, replaced by dreams of a future she was only beginning to imagine. Adam was patient, never pushing, always giving her the space and time she needed. They developed a partnership of sorts, with Thea taking over the ranch's accounts and correspondence, discovering she had a talent for business that complemented Adam's practical knowledge of ranching. Their first kiss came on a crisp October evening as they returned from a ride across the property. It was gentle and questioning at first, then deeper as Thea responded with a passion that surprised them both. When they broke apart, Adam's eyes were filled with a tenderness that made her heart ache. "I think I'm falling in love with you, Thea Mitchell," he said simply. Thea touched his face, memorizing the feel of him. "I think I've already fallen, Adam Abernathy." By Christmas, Thea had moved from the guest room to Adam's room, their relationship evolving naturally from friendship to love. They were married on New Year's Day of 1874 in a small ceremony at the ranch with Andrew, Samuel, and a few friends from Johnson City in attendance. As they spoke their vows beneath a canopy of winter stars, Thea marveled at the journey that had brought her here from Boston to Fort Worth, through pain and terror, to this moment of perfect joy. "I used to dream of adventure when I left home," she told Adam as they danced slowly on the porch after their guests had gone. "I never imagined it would lead me to you." Adam pulled her closer, his arms strong and secure around her. "Sometimes the greatest adventures are the ones we never planned." Spring came early that year, bringing with it new growth and possibility. The ranch flourished under their combined care, expanding as they purchased neighboring land that had fallen into disrepair. Thea started a small school for the children of their workers, finding fulfillment in the teaching career she had once dreamed of. It was a morning in late May when Thea woke with a sudden realization. Counting backwards in her head, she confirmed what her body had already been telling her. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, she sought out Adam, finding him in the stables tending to a new foal. He looked up as she entered, his smile warming as it always did at the sight of her. "Morning, beautiful, you're up early." Thea's heart swelled with love for this man who had shown her what real devotion looked like. "I have something to tell you," concern flickered across his features. "Everything all right, more than all right," Thea assured him, taking his hands in hers. "Adam, I'm going to have a baby." The joy that transformed his face was answer enough, but he gathered her into his arms anyway, lifting her off her feet in his excitement. "A baby, you're sure?" Thea laughed, clinging to his shoulders. "As sure as I can be, it will be winter before he arrives." Adam set her down gently, his hand moving to rest protectively over her still flat stomach. "You sound certain." "Just a feeling," Thea said, covering his hand with hers. "Are you happy?" Adam's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Happier than I ever thought I'd be again." He kissed her tenderly. "You've given me back things I thought were lost forever, Thea. Hope, family, a future." "We've given them to each other," Thea corrected softly, "and now we'll give them to our child." Their son, Thomas, was born during the first snowfall of December 1874, a strong, healthy boy with his father's blue eyes and his mother's determined spirit. As Thea held him, exhausted but exultant, with Adam sitting beside them on the bed, she thought about the cruel twist of fate that had nearly ended her life on a lonely Texas trail and the extraordinary love that had sprung from her darkest hour. "He's perfect," Adam whispered, touching their son's tiny hand with wonder. "He is," Thea agreed, leaning against her husband's shoulder. "Our miracle." Over the years that followed, their family and ranch both grew and prospered. A daughter, Sarah, joined them 2 years after Thomas, named for the woman Adam had loved and lost. Thea's parents, eventually reconciled with their headstrong daughter, visited from Boston, gradually warming to the son-in-law who had saved their daughter's life and the grandchildren they had never expected to have. The Abernathy Ranch became known throughout the region for its fine cattle and horses, as well as for the strong partnership of its owners. Travelers passing through would often remark on the obvious affection between the rancher and his wife, unaware of the darkness they had overcome together. On their 10th anniversary, Adam surprised Thea with a small wooden box, hand-carved and polished to a rich sheen. "What's this?" she asked as they sat before the fire, the children asleep upstairs. "Open it," Adam encouraged, watching her face. Inside, Thea found a delicate silver locket. When she opened it, she discovered a tiny portrait of their family on one side and an inscription on the other, "From darkness to light, with love always." Tears filled her eyes as Adam took the locket and fastened it around her neck. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Not as beautiful as you," Adam replied, drawing her into his arms, "or the life we've built together." Thea rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "Sometimes I still can't believe how fortunate I am to have found you." "I think," Adam said thoughtfully, "that some things are meant to be even if the path to them is harder than we'd choose." He tilted her face up to his. "I'd travel any path, overcome any obstacle to end up here with you." "As would I," Thea murmured, rising on her toes to kiss him. Every scar was worth it for this love. Outside, the Texas night spread vast and starlit above the ranch they had built together, a testament to resilience, healing, and the transformative power of love freely given and gratefully received. From the ashes of violence and despair, Thea Mitchell had risen to find not just survival, but joy beyond measure in the arms of Adam Abernathy, the cowboy who had found her broken and helped make her whole again.